Have we just learned?
They think very highly of her.
I'd like to call to order this Wednesday, October 6th, 2021, regular meeting of the Board of Education. Will you please call the roll?
Mr. Gomez?
Here.
Dr. Hall?
Here.
Ms. Moffitt? Here. Ms. Schofield?
Here.
Ms. White?
Here. Item B, Agenda 1, motion to approve the agenda. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the agenda of the October 6th, 2021, regular Board of Education meeting. Action by the Board of Education in adoption of a consent agenda means that all items are adopted by one singular motion unless a member of the Board of Education, treasurer, or superintendent requests that any such item be removed from the consent agenda and voted upon separately.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Ms. Moffitt?
Aye.
Ms. Schofield?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Item C, opening ceremony. Welcome. Our vision, Cuyahoga Falls City Schools, the hub of our community, committed to a culture of caring. We innovate, we create, we personalize education for all. Our mission, every student, every day, every opportunity. A special welcome to our top Tigers and the family, friends, and school staff that are here to support them this evening. We also welcome our construction planning committee members, Hammond Construction, and then Design Architecture representatives as well. Informational items. This meeting is a meeting of the Cuyahoga Falls Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It is not a public community meeting, although there are opportunities for public participation. If an individual wishes to address the board regarding a topic found on the meeting agenda, the individual must complete a registration form found inside the attendance notebook and present it to the treasurer. Following the introduction of the topic by the board president, followed by board discussion, the individual will be recognized. If an individual wishes to address the board regarding a topic not found on the meeting agenda, she or he must notify the superintendent and/or board president of the topic no later than 3 business days in advance of the meeting. These individuals may share their comments during the board business portion of the agenda. For your information, this evening we have 8 individuals who would like to address the board. I will call all guest speakers to the podium, and they will address the board in the order in which we received their request. In both cases, the individual will preface comments by an announcement of his or her name and address and limit comments to 3 minutes. All statements should be directed to the board president. No person may address or question board members individually. In accordance with board policy, a total of 30 minutes will be allocated to public comment. In addition, in public session, the board will not hear complaints about school personnel nor against any person connected with the school system. An unabridged agenda for this meeting can be found at your electronic device at the address shown on the screen, and hard copies of the board agenda may be found on the table by the window. The next regularly scheduled meetings of the Cuyahoga Falls Board of Education are on October 20th, November 3rd, and November 17th at 5:30 p.m. at the Natatorium, 2345 4th Street, Cuyahoga Falls. There is a special Board of Education meeting on October 13th at 5:30 p.m. in the Cuyahoga Falls High School Library, and there's a Planning Committee meeting on October 14th at 6 o'clock p.m. in the Cuyahoga Falls High School Library, 2300 4th Street, Cuyahoga Falls. And just so you know, our superintendent, Dr. Nichols, is on his way back from a meeting in Columbus and should arrive soon. And now for our Pledge of Allegiance and positive reflections, Mrs. Kathy Moffett.
Please join me for the pledge when you are able. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There were so many choices for this evening, but since we have our elementary school kids, I wanted to read something that is addressed to them. Develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow. And dreams come one size too big, so we can grow into them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Moffett. Item D, Treasurer CFO's business by consent agenda. Ms. Christy Stoikoi.
Thank you. I'd like to recommend that the Board of Education approve all items listed in the Treasurer CFO's consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Ms. Moffett?
Aye.
Ms. Schofield?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Item E, Superintendent CEO business by consent agenda. Ms. Stella McClure.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve all items listed in the superintendent's business consent agenda.
So moved. I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
I just want to comment on, we have a retirement. I know it's not occurring until next August, but since we're approving it tonight, Jody Tucker, who is retiring from Richardson after many, many years of service to our district.
Yeah.
She was my elementary school music teacher way back when as well. I just wanted to recognize her service.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Roll call, Ms. Stoikoi.
Ms. Moffett?
Aye.
Ms. Schofield?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Item F, presentations. We removed our staff recognition presentation this evening as she is unable to join us. We'll have her on our next agenda. So we'll move right into our top Tigers. Ms. McClure?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our first Top Tiger event of the evening. We're recognizing this evening our elementary school. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Top Tiger, these are students, 2 students from each of our elementary schools who are recognized for good character, good citizenship, and just being an overall wonderful student. So we're happy to recognize them. Our Top Tiger has several sponsors. I'm going to let Gary Metcalf go ahead and talk about the Alumni Association, who is one of our sponsors of our Top Tigers. Gary?
congratulations to all the top Tigers this evening and their families. I'm with the Cuyahoga Falls Schools Foundation and Alumni Association. We've been around since 1983. We started with $500 and we now are up to over $800,000. Last year, we awarded 55 scholarships worth, about $150,000. And we offered teacher grants, 8 teacher grants worth $4,000. And we could not do that without the alumni. How many of you are Cuyahoga Falls Black Tiger alumni? Raise your hands. All right. You can see me afterwards, and for a mere $25, you too can join. But all that money goes right back to the kids, either with teacher grants or scholarships. All the top Tigers tonight will get one of these lovely t-shirts. And these t-shirts are made by one of the classes at Falls High. So we try to keep the money inside the system for only $5, but they're free for the top Tigers. The foundation helped with the new entrance to Clifford Stadium, Tiger Trail. If you've gone through there, you'll see bricks, different size bricks with their names on it. If you'd like to purchase one, they will be moved to the new stadium when it's built in a few years. We help with class reunions. We have all class reunions. We honor distinguished alumni every year. Last year, we honored 5 different distinguished alumni. Go to our website, Cuyahoga Falls Schools Foundation Alumni Association, and you'll see all the distinguished alumni, top Tigers, scholarship winners, and information about us. Thank you so much, and once again, congratulations.
The recognition of our top Tigers is sponsored by several local businesses. Donato's Pizza, in your top Tiger bag that Dr. Cruz will hand you when you come up. Inside the bag is a certificate for Donato's Pizza. There's also a certificate from Young's Screen Printing. There's a top Tiger pin. There's a certificate. There's a copy of your nomination form. And you'll also get a flower, which was donated by Dietz's Florist. So top Tigers, when I call your name, you're going to come right up here next to me and see Dr. Cruz. She's going to give you your bag and your flower. And then I want you to stay right here while I'm finished reading your nomination so everybody can see your smiley face. And then once you're done, then you'll be able to go back to your seat. Okay, are we all set to go? Good? All right. So our first top Tiger of the evening is a 3rd grader from DeWitt Elementary, Allie Walk. Allie, come on. Allie always shows Black Tiger pride by being a leader in her classroom. She's an exceptional friend by being caring and compassionate to all of her classmates. She brings a positive spark to the classroom and enjoys helping others. Allie puts first things first, listens to directions, and helps other students be ready to learn. Allie is fully deserving of being nominated for the Top Tiger Award. She was nominated by Mrs. Smith at DeWitt Elementary School. Congratulations, Allie. Our next top Tiger is a 4th grader from DeWitt Elementary School, Nathaniel Grossler. There he is. Nathaniel has made tremendous strides in personal growth, showing Black Tiger pride. He is always respectful to his peers and his teachers. He's made a smooth transition from remote instruction to in-person learning. Nathaniel continues to make exemplary choices to demonstrate appropriate behavior and is an excellent role model for his 4th grade peers at DeWitt Elementary. His teachers are so proud of the progress he has made since kindergarten. Congratulations on your amazing growth, Nathaniel, from Mrs. Fromson at DeWitt Elementary. Our next top Tiger is a 3rd grader from Lincoln Elementary School, Olivia Graham. Olivia was nominated by Mrs. Ward, Mrs. Farkas, and Ms. Crumrig, who are the art, music, and PE teachers at Lincoln School. Olivia is an absolute joy to have at Lincoln this year. She always comes to class with a smile on her face and is excited to learn. She shares her positive attitude and her drive to be successful with her classmates by her positive words and actions. She is a bright, organized, enthusiastic young lady who takes her Black Tiger pride very seriously. She is always one of the first in her class to show respect to her teachers and classmates. She takes responsibility as a quiet leader, giving her best effort in all aspects of class, and is always willing to lend a helping hand to those who are in need. She practices safety by being a good example to all and encourages our youngest students in the building to practice their own safety as a kindergarten helper. She is quite musical, artistic, and creative. She loves to sing and exercise her artistic skills and exhibits all of the qualities of a true top tiger. Congratulations, Olivia. Our next top tiger is also a third grader from Lincoln Elementary School, Trevor Plovic. Trevor was also nominated by Mrs. Ward, Mrs. Farkas, and Ms. Crumrig from Lincoln. Trevor Plovic has shown his Black Tiger pride in many ways. He is a quiet leader among his peers, setting a very enthusiastic and positive example. He is always respectful to teachers and shows kindness to his classmates. Trevor enjoys math and plays basketball and soccer. He's not afraid to try new things and isn't afraid to go his own way. Trevor is a pleasure to have in class and is a great student leader for our school. Nice job, Trevor. Good for you. Our next top tiger is a fifth grader from Preston Elementary School, Layla Porter. Oh, right up here. Layla was nominated by Principal Tammy Brown for her accomplishments this month. Layla is one of those students that leaves an impression on your heart forever. She is a hard worker. She is responsible. She always has a smile on her face and is ready to do her very best every moment of the day. Even more important than all of those amazing characteristics of a Black Tiger, she is kind and goes out of her way to meet the needs of students and adults around her. Layla is the first student that Principal Brown has nominated that a fellow fifth grade student helped with the nomination. Miss Brown was approached by a young man the second week of school, and he said, "Principal Brown, I have a shout out. Layla always helps me and never leaves me behind. Keep showing that Black Tiger pride, Layla, and always be you because you are amazing." Nice job. Our next top tiger is a fifth grader from Preston Elementary School, James Bartle. James was also nominated by Principal Brown, as well as the fifth grade team of teachers, and Mr. Oberdier, who is the phys ed teacher at Preston School. James was a unanimous choice for receiving Top Tiger this month. The Preston team describes James as being trustworthy, a great leader, and simply awesome. Principal Brown isn't quite sure if she will allow him to graduate from the building this year because he is such a great example of how to be a Black Tiger and show that Black Tiger pride. Mrs. Davis can always count on James to be the first student to offer her help with something, and Mr. Nelman appreciates that James is such a hard worker and is always doing his best. We appreciate the amazing young man you are, James, and look forward to seeing you continue on your amazing path as a Black Tiger. Congratulations. Nice job. Our next top tiger is a third grader from Price Elementary School, Eleanor Vandegrift. Eleanor was nominated by the specialist teachers at Price, Mr. Becker-Howell, Coach Farrell, and Mrs. Romano for the month of September. Eleanor brings enthusiasm and a great positive attitude to her work at school. She steps up to try challenging new things, and her efforts help others to step up and face their own challenges. Her attitude is especially impressive, considering she is new to our school this year, and trying new things can be challenging in a new place. Ella is making a positive difference at Price. Congratulations. Nice job. Our next top tiger is a 5th grader at Price Elementary School, Wyatt Scott. Wyatt was nominated by Coach Farrell at Price Elementary School. Wyatt Scott exemplifies what it means to be a Cuyahoga Falls Black Tiger. He honors the code of Black Tiger pride by always showing respect, taking responsibility, and practicing safety. Wyatt loves world history and loves to fish with his grandpa. He was the first ever 3rd grade flag raiser for Price Elementary School because of his passion for the flag. Wyatt is a Lance Corporal in the Greater Akron Young Marines, which is an anti-drug program. He also volunteers for his amazing grandpa's nonprofit, Keys to Serenity. He has helped with feeding the homeless and volunteering at Keys to Serenity kids events for children who are affected by family substance abuse. Wyatt is an outstanding young man who has grown to be a role model to myself and to others. I am proud to say, Wyatt Scott, you are Price Elementary's top tiger. Nice job. Our next top tiger is a 5th grader at Richardson Elementary School, Ben Coriali. Is that right? Ben was nominated by the specialists for this month, Mrs. Tucker, Mrs. Pettit, and Miss Robinson for the month of September. Our top tiger is a 5th grader whom we have known for many years at Richardson School. He leads by example among his peers. He is consistent in good character, respectful, helpful, hardworking, and self-motivated. He is involved on a soccer team outside of school. He has a younger brother and sister who look up to him with love as their big brother. He is quite well respected by his peers. He was learning online last year in school and continued to grow and stay focused. Academically, he is on target and beyond. We are proud to present to you our Richardson Top Tiger this month, Ben Coriali. Is that right? Our next top tiger is a 5th grader at Richardson Elementary, Evie West. Is it easy? Oh, good, that's right. Evie was also nominated by the specialists, Mrs. Tucker, Mrs. Pettit, and Miss Robinson for the month of September. Our top tiger for this month has represented Richardson School well in all her 5 years at our school. She is pleasant, upbeat, thoughtful, well-respected by her peers, and helpful to others. She can also be playful and fun-loving and cares for others' well-being. Our nominee is participating in an after-school tennis club led by 2 Richardson teachers. She is willing to try new things and give it her best. She's been leading a fundraiser in the past for the Kids Heart Challenge, which supports being heart healthy and raises money for research to help others fight heart disease and strokes. While learning online last year, she persevered with excellence and a positive attitude. We present to you our top tiger from Richardson School, Evie West. Our next top tiger is a 5th grader from Silver Lake Elementary School, Sophia Nissel. Sophia was nominated by the specialists at Silver Lake, Mrs. Angelo, Mrs. Miller, and Miss Bittner. Sophia is always showing Black Tiger pride in ways that amaze us. She is patient, kind, helpful, and considerate to all school staff and her peers from the moment she enters the building and throughout the day to her classroom, at lunch, recess, and in her specials classes. There is not a time that we don't see Sophia modeling what a Black Tiger should do during the school day and beyond. We feel Sophia deserves this recognition because she has always been a great example and a leader to other students in her time here at Silver Lake. Congratulations on a job well done, and keep up the Black Tiger pride. Nice job. Our final top tiger of the night is a second grader at Silver Lake Elementary School, Alexander Zelenak. Alex was also nominated by Mrs. Miller, Mrs. Angelo, and Miss Bittner for the month of September. Alex is such a joy to have in our classes. He is always trying his best, always working hard, and always showing Black Tiger pride. Alex does everything with a smile on his face. He is full of energy in the best way, and it is contagious. He is kind to his teachers and classmates, always the first one to offer help when he sees someone that needs it. We are so proud of Alex and can't wait to see him shine in second grade. Congratulations, Alex. Good for you. Thank you very much. That concludes our top Tigers information for the evening. You all are welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, or you can be excused if you'd like to go get ice cream or, something fun like that. Not you. There's a paper.
Did you add 20 pages since you had the extra time?
Yeah.
Did you find that or did you make that?
I found it.
Oh, good job.
I know you want to follow us.
I do.
And since I'm not going to be able to do this.
Seriously.
I did. I got it.
Well, you've been practicing.
Well, that's fine.
It's okay. Give us a
Kind of disappointed they didn't wear the uniforms.
Yeah.
Could show them their Black Tiger pride at least.
Karen.
Good.
Our next presentation will be bond savings from our treasurer, Mrs. Christy Stoikoi.
Thank you. I know this is the moment you've all been waiting for. So we're going to talk about bond savings, in particular, the issue that was passed in November of 19 to build the new 612 building, and kind of how it was presented, and then what actually happened when we took the bonds to market. So we have to put something in, make it interesting. This is not an interesting topic. Okay, so what is a municipal bond? Essentially, it's just a promise to repay money, And more technically, it's a debt security. It's issued by a state, city, county to finance projects. They're highly regulated. They're attractive because they're generally issued tax exempt, which allows the issuers, such as a school district, to receive those funds at a low rate. They must be used for governmental use and used within a certain time frame, though. So the issuance process, education bonds are voter-approved funds that can only be used for school facilities, which of course is what happened in November 19. The district collects this money by taxing property owners on the assessed valuation of your property, and then we go and we take the bonds to market and sell them to investors. And then they're funded to us essentially like a home equity line, but for a school district. So I'm not going to go over these in depth, but this is kind of the different phases. Phase one is coming together, the very beginning, getting all the information for the preliminary official statements. And you can see it kind of goes on through there. There's a ratings process if you don't already have a credit rating. The board has to approve a number of things, and then we take them to market, and then after that, the bonds close. So if we go to the next slide, there's essentially two different portions I'll talk about. So when it was passed, if you remember, the plan was that there is a co-funded portion where the state will kick in a certain percentage, and then outside of that, there was what's called an LFI, or a locally funded initiative, that is totally separate from that, but it's all combined into that one issue when we take it to the ballot. So the co-funded portion is what we'll talk about here, and how the state is involved in the building program. So the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, which is the OFCC, provides funding, management, oversight, and assistance to districts for renovation and construction. This comes in the form of building assessments to evaluate the conditions of schools. They also co-approve the project design, construction contracts, etc. So if you can see originally, well, this is still the same for the most part. The new 612 facility on the Bullock site, plus abating and demoing Newberry and Bullock, it's the 88.6 million. And if you go down below, you'll see the breakdown that 63% is funded by the district through the tax levy, and then OFCC shares 37%. And you'll see that breakdown. What I mentioned before, a locally funded initiative, are building improvement programs that are not funded by the OFCC, essentially. It's 100% funded by the district. So this could be, for instance, for us, it's the stadium, the black box theater, the auditorium that will be in the new building. Some other examples that are on here, you can see indoor running tracks, swimming pools, etc. So this is what was part of the issue, the locally funded initiatives. There's some different built-in things. I mentioned some of them. A 4% escalator for market conditions, not knowing exactly when we would build, what the prices would be at the time, phasing costs. And you can see that was a little under 25 million was what the LFI portion was. So you're on the next one. Okay, so now putting them all together, you can see the total project is a little over 113 million. Our local share, which is our co-funded portion, plus the LFI, is 80.6 million. And that is what the ballot issue was for. And then, okay, we're getting to the other part. I apologize for the next slide, Hammond and TDA, but I have to put it in there. I know it's been a long time. Dang pandemic. So, back in 2019, when we took this to the ballot, here's what the assumptions were in coming up with exactly what we needed. So 80.6 million was obviously going to be the issuance. We did 36 years and assumed a 4.5% interest rate at that time. Obviously, we don't know any of that until we go to market and see. So that's what was assumed. Back in 2019, the taxable valuation of the districts was 770 million. And so you can see the total repayment, principal and interest, is a little under 148 million. And then that generated the 5.33 mils, with the annual cost to a homeowner of a $100,000 home, assessed value being $35,000 is $186.55. So the next page kind of just shows that more how I like to see it numbers wise, not a lot of the other stuff. So you can kind of see it broken down. It shows that annual costs, total taxpayer costs, average annual principal is added there, a little 2.2 million. Average annual interest is about 1.8 million. So now we'll go to the next year, which is 2020. You won't see a whole lot change here. The only big change is that obviously in 2020, we had our sexennial reappraisal for Summit County. And overall, the valuation for Cuyahoga Falls went up about 13.76% overall. So if you remember, it was 770 million in 19. It went up to 878 million in 20. So what that did, right off the bat, we still hadn't sold the bonds, so we have none of that. So the projected total repayment, principal and interest, all of that's still the same because it's all under the same 2019 assumptions. But because the valuation is larger and we can't collect any more than what was voter approved, they dropped the millage. The county dropped the millage to 4.65 mils from the 5.33. And this is what is the effective millage is what they call it. And that was due to the valuation increase. So now that same homeowner, let's say they had no change in their valuation, now only pays $162.75 instead of the $186.55. And then again, just kind of summing it up there, you see the 4.6 mils, nothing else really changes except the cost to that same homeowner and the millage. So 2021 is actually when we sold the bonds. So they were sold in May of 2021 at an average interest rate of 2.72%, which is obviously a little more than half of what we anticipated at 4.5%. We also received in the sale a little over $5 million in additional proceeds on the bond, and the fact that we've been collecting since 2020 the levy that was passed, those 5.33, 4.65 mils the following year. Those funds are kept separate in a bond retirement fund. They can't be used for anything except to repay back that debt. So it's been sitting there waiting for us to sell these bonds. So in those first 3 years, because of those additional proceeds and the money that we have, we're able to make some large principal payments in those first 3 years to cut down really on our interest in the long run. So as a result of that lower interest rate, our valuation, and the large principal payments, compared to 2019 assumptions, taxpayers will save over $20 million based off of what we thought it was going to be in 2019 overall. So you can see here, this is not, the next slide is not different. And it was too much to kind of get on a slide to see. I think maybe I did it, but it's still hard to see. That millage, as of now, obviously things change and the economy and things like that. But it's set to keep ticking down as each year goes by. And I think it's on here. It's just going to be difficult oh, it is on here. Not, okay, go to the next one. We'll see if we can see it. So this is just all in true interest costs is about 2.72%. We had 80.6 was the ballot. Net premium was the additional proceeds, which is less the fees for the underwriter, our attorneys, the credit rating that we needed to receive. So that all comes out of there. So our total proceeds were a little under 86 million. And you can kind of see that breakdown. The co-funded and local initiatives portion did not change from the beginning. We just have those additional proceeds in there. So I don't know how well this is. Maybe you can kind of see. So this is what the debt service schedule looks like for the district. And I put this in here just kind of to show, you can see in those first 3 years, this year we'll make about a principal payment of about 7.5 million, and then the following year 3.9, and then the following year a little under 3, and then it'll kind of stabilize to be between 1 and 2 million as we go, with not a big differences from year to year. And then this is where it shows. So this is projected at the moment. If things were kind of to stay, and if we're assuming our valuation is creeping up like we've shown here, then that will be effectively what we need to levy as millage going forward. You can see after those first 3 years, it drops down to 3.81, and by the time we're in the last year or so, it's around 2.75 mils. So again, this is just comparing those two slides I showed you earlier. Total savings over the terms of these bonds for a home value of $100,000 is almost $2,400, which overall is about 36.5% savings from what the estimate was when you originally voted for the issue. So that's about all I have, unless you hit the next one. Come on, it's the good one.
Board members, questions for Treasurer Stoikoy on this, on our bond savings?
Is it possible, as an ask of you, but on that taxpayer cost, is there a way that you could create a table of what we anticipated it to be and what it is now? Because I think that might be easier for people.
Yeah, we could probably do that. I mean, when we anticipated it being 5.33 the whole time, but given those same valuation changes, if we say, yes, we could look at, given the same kind of parameters and increases to valuation, what it would have been.
Thank you. I appreciate seeing that. I know not every person in the community will care to get that deep, but I know there are people that would.
What do you
care to
mean?
get
Everybody
that
wants to
deep.
go
So,
to
I
school
appreciate
finance.
Other questions or comments, board members?
Just thank you for a nice presentation. That's very understandable.
And I would also like to thank you, because since you've been on board, we have received so much information in a very understandable manner. And you're always willing to answer questions from us, from our community. And I would also like to thank you for sharing things on the website. I'm hoping people will become familiar with that.
Mhm.
So if they aren't able to attend this evening's meeting, they can find that information.
Yep, we'll
Thank
put
you.
that out there tomorrow.
Further comments, board members?
I just wanted to add that it happened well that this presentation fell tonight, because talking about savings to taxpayers the same time that we approved the contracts and also encumber the funds of the taxpayers for the next people that are going to come up and speak to us. So it's kind of beautifully worked together that way.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Stoikoy.
you.
Our next presentation this evening is always the first meeting of the month, a construction update from Hammond Construction and our then Design Architecture representatives. If you'd like to come forward to the podium and provide us with our October update.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Chris Smith. I'm the president and owner of Ben Design Architecture. And a brief update. It's not a very elaborate one. We finished our schematic design package, delivered it on time. And since that time, both of our companies have been doing estimates. So they're working on estimates for this project. We're working on reconciling them. We had a 6-hour work session between our teams today. So that's going on right now. So the next report you should see is kind of the results of that. So that's what to expect. I do want to say, there's a little bit of congratulations that you should be congratulated on. First, Doc Nichols and Ms. Stoikoy and the rest of the board, because you finally have solidified the OFCC agreement. And that was a lot of work behind the scenes. So, and what that means to the taxpayers, of course, is it locked up 37% of the state share. So it's a huge monumental thing. We want to congratulate you on that. And just a side note, so I mentioned that that I'm the president of the company, but more importantly, I'm a graduate of Lincoln Elementary, Roberts Middle School, and Cuyahoga Falls High School. So I can't begin to tell you what an honor this is for us, and how personal it is to me. So thank you very much.
Well, I will only add again. I'm Bill Sherman. I'm president and co-owner of Hammond Construction, and I will only add that we at Hammond Construction are very humbled and honored to be your building partner. We know this is a huge project for this community. We respect how the magnitude of the project and how impactful it will be, and we know that there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that as your building partner, and we are fully dedicated and committed to the success of the project. So we thank you very much, and we're honored to be your partner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lastly, we don't need TV cameras every time we come. You guys
They were here for me.
So noted.
Well, this would be a good time to mention that on October 19th at 6 p.m. at the high school auditorium, TDA and Hammond, along with the school district, are hosting an unveiling of the schematic design. And they left already, but schematic design doesn't necessarily mean what the building will look like. It means what's going to be inside the building. So you kind of get an idea of where things will be, what it'll look like on the site. And then we're hoping sometime in January to have a reveal of what the outside of the building will look like. So that's October 19th at 6 p.m. in the high school auditorium.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. We're ready for item G, board business. Item 1, recognition of support organizations. It's recommended the Board of Education formally recognize the following support organizations for the 2021-2022 academic year: Cuyahoga Falls High School PTSO and Richardson Elementary School PTO.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on this item. Roll call, please.
Ms. Schofield,
Aye.
Ms. White,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
Dr. Hall,
Aye.
Ms. Moffett.
Aye.
Item 2, policy, first read. We have a number of board policies for review. There's no action required this evening. These items will reappear on our next agenda for approval. If you have any questions, please be sure to contact Mr. Gomez or Ms. White, our representatives on the board policy committee. Thank you for your work on this. Item 3, comments from the public. I'll read off the names of the individuals who will be addressing the board this evening. I'll ask that all of you come to the podium just to save time. And then as each of your names are announced, we will be timing you for 3 minutes. Please give your name, your address, and address the board with your comments. Mr. Ben Groden, Mr. Matthew Skifstad, Mr. Brian Norris, Mr. Jim Lang, Ms. Sarah Banzoff, Ms. Kaylin Park, Mr. Rick Murphy, Mr. Brian Sachs. Our first speaker this evening is Mr. Ben Groden.
Good evening. My name is Benjamin Grouden. My address is none of your business. I'm here for bullies and tyrants have brought me here. We have people that are making decisions not based on science. You claim it, but you aren't. I have an extensive background in heavy construction, including underwater construction, underwater diving. I am very familiar about how micron measurements work and filtration systems work. When you are forcing children that have never been trained in proper PPE, protective equipment, you are causing more injuries and more harm because children do not know how to use these things. We learned from the 2020-2021 school year that mandating masks in our schools have very little impact. That is on the CDC website. They have studied schools all across the country, from Florida to Maine, east and west. Nothing was found to support any kind of claim that masks prevent viruses. The reason being is they're too tiny. Medical masks are not designed for viruses. They are designed to keep a doctor from, when they're cutting open a patient or something, getting sprayed with bodily fluids, to keep them out of their mouth. That is why they are there. There is no significant reduction in influenza transmission with the use of a face mask. There's no significant medical masks are loose fitting and no significant effect on transmission. And before you start saying water droplets, you can easily walk outside in a cold day and you will see the vapors coming from inside out of your mask. Those are water droplets. They are tiny. You need a full suit, a self-contained suit, if you want to prevent yourself from getting a virus. There's a reason why when you see pictures of people in a lab, they're wearing a full hazmat suit, because that doesn't work for anything other than a virtue signal. To say that you're compliant, to say that you are okay with being told what to do. And since, I don't know, maybe some of you guys never been in power before, and now you see an opportunity to enforce power upon children. Masks can cause severe acne and other skin problems with children because they don't know how to properly use them. They don't understand about how you can get bacteria lymphoma from using a dirty mask. They don't understand that there's vectors for pathogens that become, when mask becomes moist, it's easier for them to get in because they're wet. So you got a kid wearing a mask all day, it's getting moist with saliva and creating a bacteria pool that they have strapped to their face for the entire day.
Your time is up, sir. Thank you.
Be a proud slave. Keep wearing that mask.
Our next speaker is Mr. Matthew Skipstad.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Skipstad, class of 2002, and I live at 935 Rexdale Drive if you want to come and harass me later. I had a goal to share with all of you something tonight, but now my goal is to be boring enough to stay off the news. Let me begin by saying I don't envy the decisions that any of you have had to make in the last 20 months. I too run a very public organization, and any decision that I've had to make has made certain people mad, left, right, up, and down. And there's nothing you can do to make people happy. I know it, I've lived it, and I can proudly say the organization I represent has had no cases of community spread. I also have had COVID run through my family. I had a mom on an ICU ventilator for 5 days and in the hospital for months. I don't take this pandemic lightly. In light of this, as a parent, I can understand your reasoning for reestablishing a mask mandate with the information with which you have been provided. And with that context established, unlike our friend who spoke before me, I can't speak to the virus infiltrating masks or this or that. But I would like the board to consider a more nuanced approach when this current mandate ends on October 29th. I simply want to suggest to the administration that long-term masking in our schools may, in your estimation, be optimal for the mitigation of the spread of COVID-19, but is suboptimal for educational, mental, and emotional health of our children, especially of our younger children. I think you believe that because we didn't start with a mask mandate this year. Elementary age children especially are bearing a mental and emotional burden here. And we have a secondary pandemic going on in our society right now of depression and anxiety hitting children at younger ages than ever before. We've been told to trust the science for 20 months. Well, anthropology, psychology, and sociology are sciences too. I would love to smile at all of you. I love some of you. You were my teachers. I want you to see I'm non-threatening, I'm not angry, but I can't do that tonight. I want to be respectful of you, okay? So with all of that said, this matters to an elementary age child. They need this affirmation. They need it desperately, and we all can assent to that. So my simple concept tonight, or the simple thing I want to get across is this. Could we not elevate social distancing measures as we once did to at some point in the near future, think about making this a secondary recourse rather than the first? My kids' desks at the elementary school are smushed together. There's no social distancing, but they are made to wear a mask. I feel like we can maybe have a more nuanced approach, especially as the 29th comes around. We begin to see the virus numbers recede. I just think it's going to lead to more optimal learning. It's going to lead to better mental and emotional health for our children. I would ask you respectfully to consider that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Mr. Brian Norris.
My name is Brian Norris. I will give you my address when you give me all yours. I was at the last meeting, if you want to call it that. It ended abruptly. They ended it. That was my first time inside the high school. Upon entering, I saw a custodian, a police officer, and the entire girls' volleyball team not wearing masks. So I said, okay, cool. Go in there, and then, of course, they all have to kick us out because we're not wearing masks. So can you just tell me why the girls' volleyball team was not wearing masks? They were not outside. They were inside the school. No answer? It's probably because it's dangerous to be doing a physical activity while wearing a mask. Probably afraid someone would pass out or something. Now let's apply that same logic to kids sitting all day in a classroom wearing a mask. And if you don't want to use that, like my man said, there's plenty of data. How would, in a year and a half, no one has bothered to look that up? There's plenty of data showing that masks are completely ineffective. Not only that, but little kids are completely not at risk for COVID-19 at all. So I would also like a guarantee that in the future, can you guys guarantee that you will not be mandating this experimental shot? You can't guarantee that? See, at the last meeting, if you want to call it that, one of the board members yelled at me and said, we're doing it for the children. Well, if you're doing it for the children, are you really going to experiment on them? Because today it's the mask. Tomorrow, they're going to be mandating that shot. So there's a great quote going around the internet that I really like. It says, anyone throughout history who has mandated things or forced other people to do things were never the good guys. And I think you should all think about that. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Norris. Our next speaker, Mr. Jim Lang.
Good evening. I'd like to thank you, Mrs. Schofield, and the members of the board for the opportunity to speak this evening. I've asked to speak tonight to publicly thank Dr. Nichols and the Board of Education for your decision to extend the current mask mandate in our schools. In this time of division, too many leaders at every level of government and society have been cowed and shied away from making tough decisions in the face of intimidation and bullying from a fringe minority. It is refreshing to see elected and appointed leaders risking that backlash for the sake of keeping our children safe. As a teacher, I know quite well that wearing a mask in school is unpleasant. It's hot, especially in buildings that lack air conditioning. It's itchy, it's uncomfortable. As a band director, my classes are those probably most directly impacted by the use of masks. We've had to use specially designed masks and other safety equipment just to be able to play our instruments and do our everyday activities. This layers additional levels of annoyance and difficulty on everything we do, especially for my beginners. But you know what? They don't complain. They don't mind. Because they understand what some people in our community don't seem to, which is that it is worth it. Honest to God, in a month of teaching, I have not heard, excuse me. May I have my time while they're interrupting me? May I have my time while they're interrupting me,
Let's
Mrs.
pause
Schofield?
the time, Mr. Hutch. Folks, everyone, you get 3 minutes to speak, and you are infringing upon their time. I respectfully request you keep your comments quiet so that our speakers can address the board.
Suck up to you. Thank you, Mrs. Schofield.
Suck it harder. Hey, go ahead.
Honest to God, in the last month, I have not heard a single student complaint since this mandate went into effect because they know it is worth it. Last year, our students went through hell. They went through the incredible fear, uncertainty, and trauma. Yes, mental health issues as we navigated through a shifting landscape of online, in-person, and hybrid instruction. We are still coming to grips with the fallout of last year. We are still finding and filling gaps in student learning. We are working harder than ever. We are identifying and dealing with mental health issues as students have grappled with fear, depression, isolation, and loneliness, largely brought on by having to work in an uncertain and virtual environment instead of being with their peers. We are back now and we are healing, but it takes work. And a piece of cloth is a small price to pay to avoid repeating that struggle. For those of you that would say that we can safely return to in-person instruction without masks, I ask you, as has been suggested, to look at the data. In September of this year, we had 91 positive cases, 4 times higher than any other month. This pandemic is still existing, but most of those cases happened before the mask mandate was issued. Furthermore, we had 400 students in quarantine prior to the mandate. Thanks to masking, that number is down to 8. We are now able to teach. We are now able to fulfill the purpose of a school district and help the children of this community to grow and prosper. The evidence is clear. Masks work. With them, we can work. Our students are vulnerable, and I thank you for taking the steps that you can to protect them.
Our next speaker, Ms. Sarah Banzoff.
Funny, I didn't hear too many boos when you guys were speaking, but the respect isn't given back to us. So maybe we can start respecting one another. Maybe we can respect one another. Good evening, members of the board, and thank you for letting us speak here tonight. Unfortunately, for some reason, the idea of protecting one another with the tools that we have readily available, such as masks, has become a political, anger-based hot topic in schools. I'll wait. Our district is not immune, obviously. People on both sides of this debate are tired and are experiencing pandemic fatigue from COVID-19. I'd like to start by reading the mission statement of the Cuyahoga Falls School District. That mission is every student, every day, every opportunity. In order to uphold this mission, we must first and foremost create a safe learning environment for our kids. By mandating masks in schools, we are teaching our children that we will do our best to keep others in the community safe. The majority of us understand this is not a means of power to control us by the board or the superintendent, but to stop the spread of a deadly virus and allow our schools to stay open. We know masks work. The research is there, as is the specific data specifically to this district. Those of us who have children attending the school should have received an all-call and an email mapping out numbers on October 1st. But because of some recent pushback, these statistics bear repeating here tonight. School began on August 18th. August 18th through September 3rd, masking was optional. During these 3 weeks, we experienced 74 positive cases and 398 student quarantines. On September 7th, the mask mandate began. During these particular 3 weeks, the numbers were cut by more than half. 33 positive student cases and 41 student quarantines. That's 74 down to 33. 398 to 41. I'm sorry, but data does not lie. Numbers are not political. One thing is clear, the numbers are not biased or political, and neither are the deadly viruses. The CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the governor, who is a Republican, as well as our state and local health departments, all agreed that we should be masking in schools at this time. We should never place the feelings of a minority of adults in a community before the safety of our children, the ones we are here to protect. I will end with this. We, the majority of parents, teachers, and staff in the district, thank you and applaud you for the original mask mandate. Well, I got interrupted, so I'm going to keep going for a minute. And now the extension, we implore you to continue reevaluating the statistics to make a decision before each mandate expires. We want you to know that you're doing right by our kids, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Ms. Kaylin Park.
Do I go? Hi. As a kid, I want to know more things than a lot of people and other kids do. I, this year, asked a lot of questions, and it's exciting to know new things. As I did not get to know this question, and I had to hear it, it is super weird to be here because adults don't think that their children should wear masks. As my mom's brother died of leukemia, he had to wear a mask for other people's safety. My mom had to wear a mask to see her brother. Nobody had a problem with that then, but now they do. So now it should be the time as us to be able to stand up out of our ground, as a lot of you guys are adults. You guys should be able to know that masks save lives. Can I please speak? Can I please speak? Let me speak before you guys go off. It is so weird that some adults cannot know this and get me on camera. I like to, because it is super inappropriate that I have to be speaking here because some of you guys cannot wear masks. A lot of you guys are adults, and I did not get forced to do this. My mom asked me. She was not forcing me. So before you say that, don't think that, because I wanted to be here. I want to be here. And I'm not going to get interrupted here. Don't laugh, please. As a kid, please be quiet. Even as hearing my mom, I have to know that. And it's inappropriate that you guys can't stay quiet. What I am saying, you guys, please be quiet. As you guys should know, please wear a mask. You're doing it for your safety. It's like kindness. My teacher tells me, when you do something for other people, they can do it back. Well, wear a mask for them, and they'll wear it back. Just wear a mask for kindness. See, you're showing kindness. Showing kindness is the right way we do things. As if that I would be gladly to say, please wear a mask. And I know my time's up.
Our next speaker is Mr. Rick Murphy.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rick Murphy. My address is 2213 Anderson Road in the Falls. Thank you for the opportunity to speak at this forum. The reason I asked to be added to the speakers list is to express my support for the board's decision to mandate the wearing of masks in Cuyahoga Falls school buildings. The board's decision was reached, I'm sure, after much careful deliberation and taking into consideration the potential response from the community. This decision has only the best interests of all Cuyahoga Falls students at heart. The science supports this conclusion as the least intrusive solution, short of remote learning, to protect our children and teachers, as well as their extended families who come into contact with them outside of the school environment. This decision is not about bullying, communism, socialism, Nazism, or any other ism. This is about protecting students and teachers from a deadly disease. This isn't about infringements of personal liberties. It's acknowledging that the collective good outweighs any inconvenience of wearing a mask. I applaud the board for leading by example, being willing to stand up and take the verbal and potential physical abuse that is coming as a result of them taking this position. What constitutes a good citizen? Is it following the laws and rules of the community? Is it voting? Is it engaging in respectful debate? Is it being compassionate to our fellow citizens? Is it setting aside personal issues for the greater good of the community? I think the current situation is an example of the last case. The greater good of the community means that I must make some sacrifice to ensure that my fellow citizens are not exposed to this disease as a result of my personal preference. Regarding the question around taxpayer-funded institutions, to enter the Cuyahoga Falls Library, I must wear a mask. That's their policy. I go to the Falls Library without a mask, I'll be asked to either put mine on or use one that they have made available. If I refuse the mask, I'm denied entry. The library is supported by tax dollars, just like the schools. So I haven't yet to see a person protesting in front of the library about not wearing a mask. This is about following the rules. It's about respecting the rights of others to not be exposed to a viral infection. There's no bullying going on here. The decision is for the greater good of the community. Maintaining the health of our children and teachers should be first and foremost in everyone's mind. We cannot always function as selfish, self-centered adults. We must consider the effects of our actions upon others. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with the board tonight. I appreciate the members of the community here. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Mr. Brian Sachs.
Hi, I'm Brian. As a pastor, I often turn to the Bible. By the way, that was a beautiful sermon. You should keep it up. I turn to the Bible to think things over. And when I think of this debate over masks in schools, the book of Proverbs comes to mind, specifically chapter 12, verses 15. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice. I know the members of this board regard protecting kids as the most important part of their job. I also know you all are under a tremendous amount of pressure from a vocal minority. You can count them in the room who do not want masks mandated. However, the wisdom of experts says requiring students to wear masks is the best tool we have to keep them safe. This is from the American Academy of Pediatrics website. The American Academy of Pediatrics strongly endorses the use of safe and effective infection control procedures to protect children and adolescents. During the COVID-19 pandemic, effective infection prevention and control requires the correct and consistent use of a well-fitting face mask. I don't have fancy degrees. I'm just a minister. But I do know the people on the board of members of the American Academy of Pediatrics do have very fancy degrees, and that's why I listen to them. They did not get their degrees from Facebook Medical University or the Twitter School of Pediatrics. They are the wise, not the fools, and their advice should be held above all others. As a parent of 2 kids in Cuyahoga Falls Public School, I urge the board to make masks required for the rest of the school year and not change it until the AAP says so. Children should not be pawns in the culture wars of reckless fools, and to not require masks in a pandemic is biblically foolish. Please listen to the words of the wise and make the mask requirement permanent. Amen.
That concludes item 3, comments from the public. And we're now ready for item 4, future agenda items. I have one item, and that is we were recently notified that we will need to appoint another individual to the library board. So board members, we need a timeline for posting and interviewing that. Suggestions?
I would like to see people submitting applications of interest done by the end of the month, if at all possible, so that we may do interviews in November, so that the person who will be receiving this appointment will be ready for business by the first of the year.
So interviewing would take place Wednesday, November 3rd. Is that your suggestion, Mrs. Moffett?
If at all possible, we need to see how many people apply for that position. And if we need a few more, we may need to extend it, but that would be the optimal date.
Board members concur with Mrs. Moffett? We'll go ahead and post that and intend to interview candidates Wednesday, November 3rd. Other future agenda items? Hearing none, we'll move to item 5, committee reports. Alliance for School and Community Growth, Mrs. Moffett.
I am sorry I was unable to attend the last meeting. Our next meeting will be next Tuesday.
Thank you. Athletics and Activity Council, Dr. Hall.
I know we're meeting later this month, but I'm not sure which day exactly.
Thank you. Board Policy, Ms. White and Mr. Gomez.
I think you got lengthy first read from us. Most of those policies that were in the first read are part of House Bill 110, the budget bill. Some of the majority of them are things that are legally required for us to change. And I think you got a supplement that walks you through that. We had at policy committee, we had pretty in-depth discussion about the homework and late work policy. And so if that's something maybe we want a presentation on at a future agenda item before we discuss it, it is a big change that's being proposed. Anything else, Patty?
No, I can't think of it.
Okay,
Alrighty,
that's all for now.
thank you.
Just a lot of,
Business Advisory Council, Mrs. Moffett and Ms. White.
none.
Thank you. Financial Advisory Committee, Dr. Hall.
Ms. Stoker, could you remind us the date of the next one?
Yeah, I think it's the, hold on. It's the 11th or the 18th. I'm not sure which one. It is the 11th of November.
11. Thank you.
Foundation Alumni Association, Mr. Gomez.
We meet next Tuesday for our annual business meeting, and we're all hoping Beth stays on as president. She's doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you. Legislative Liaison, Mr. Gomez.
A bill was passed out of both the Senate and the House. I don't believe the governor signed it yet, but I expect him to. That will require us to teach financial literacy course. Like all things that come down, it's more nuanced. If you take a certain math class, then you don't have to take it. But I know it's something that we hear often from the community. They wish that we taught. We do teach pieces and parts now of financial literacy and other ways, but this is formalizing it for the entire state of Ohio. And then there's another bill making its way through rather quickly, and it's to eliminate all appointed members on the State Board of Education as their terms would expire. OSBA, Jennifer Hogue, went down and spoke in support of that because OSBA's policy is that we only want elected school boards. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that going forward. And then, as you know, the State Board of Education is going through the process of looking for a new state superintendent of education. I'm trying to keep apprised of that because that tends to shape how things come down from the Ohio Department of Education.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
all for now.
Gomez. Finally, Student Achievement Liaison, 3 quick announcements. First of all, Ohio colleges and universities must now provide information about mature subject matter in college courses to students and their parents or guardians when those students are participating in College Credit Plus classes. The permission slip signed by the parent or guardian is now required. Secondly, district leadership team meetings are monthly, and the schedule has been established for the 2021-22 school year, with the first meeting scheduled for October 18th. And finally, the Student Wellness and Success Task Force met on September 20th. 3 quick takeaways. First of all, the social workers, along with the Wellness and Success Committee, are exploring a new screener to be used to identify student wellness needs that may impede their learning. 2, the transition to Red Oak Behavioral Health as our school-based mental health provider has gone very smoothly. And then finally, our social workers are up and running, visible in all our buildings, and working on community liaison activities, along with the new distribution of over 1,000 birdie bags of weekend food for our students. And that concludes my report. And now we're ready for comments. First this evening, Mrs. Moffett.
Thank you, Mrs. Schofield. I would like to thank our Cuyahoga Falls Park and Rec Department for the events that we had at BOE just a few weeks ago. It was incredible. I'm hoping that many of you were able to attend Many families from all over the falls came. They were able to play games. They were able to pet goats, other farm animals. They had a wonderful swizzle stick band as well as our Cuyahoga Falls marching band. It was an awesome experience, and I know that it required planning and time and effort on parts of the Cuyahoga Falls rec department. So I'd like to thank them very much for that. And I think many of you have heard me speak regarding things before, so I'm not going to say any more, but I'd like to thank everyone who came this evening for sharing their thoughts, their opinions. Thank you to all of our people who continue to support our Cuyahoga Falls school system.
Thank you, Ms. Moffett. Looks like I'm up next, so I've got quite a bit to say, actually, because I've got lots of thank yous to distribute. First of all, we had a welcome week on September 13th, 14th, and 16th in our 6 elementary buildings, and this brought together a variety of community organizations and school district services. I'm going to take the time to actually read some names because there's always time to thank people. First of all, Ryan Reevy and his staff from Riverfront YMCA, Jake Jackson and his scout leaders from the Great Trail Council of Boy Scouts, Chief Jack Davis and the Cuyahoga Falls Police Department, Beth Sutrzewski, children's librarian from our public library and her staff, Kitra Woodall and the volunteers from the Girl Scouts, Assistant Fire Chief Jack Breeze and the Cuyahoga Falls Fire Department, the PTO, PTA, Home and School League parents from each of our elementary buildings, our community members who serve on the Construction Planning Committee, Stacy Giamarco and her staff from Red Oak Behavioral Health, Crystal Nakasa and her team from Akron Children's Hospital, Chef Bill Bailey and his nutrition and food service staff who serve pizza, snacks, and bottled water to all our families, Cameron Lazar, coordinator of Exceptional Children, who arranged for Holly Merkel and our social workers to participate, Courtney Lewis with our English language learners, Jessica Mihalik with special education, Dr. Rachel Seifert, elementary coordinator, and Tina Lindy, elementary media specialist, who made sure every child who attended got a book to take home, and all the classroom teachers who were in their classrooms meeting and greeting their families. It was a wonderful evening with over 1,800 attendees, and it brought together our community and school services in a phenomenal way. I thank all of you for all of what you did to make that week such a success. A couple other announcements. I take a moment to acknowledge the passing of 2 individuals who served our school district. The first is Patty Kupasinski, who passed away on September 13th, and Dave Rump, who passed away on September 24th. Among the many things for which they will be remembered, it's their dedicated service to our school district that'll be at the top of the list. Finally, I'd like to thank the students in the urban agriculture class, Steve McIntosh and Steve Newton, Chef Bill Bailey, the band students, the art club that made the wind chimes, and everyone who attended the Farm Fresh Party on September 21st. What a wonderful night to celebrate all that our students and teachers do. I'll stop there because I could go on all night.
Yes.
Let's move to Ms. Patrice White.
Okay, I would also like to comment on the deaths of Patty and Dave, who are wonderful employees and members of our Black Tiger family, and their condolences to their families. I would like to say congratulations to DeWitt for their A+, the 4th and 5th graders that were on the WVIZ News Depth, and to Bolick PBIS Bronze Award. So that is something special. I want to thank again for the elementary schools for inviting us to their welcome week. I really appreciate that. And it was a lot of fun and wonderful to see families and their little ones there. Again, I do have an article, but I think I'll save that for the next board meeting. Instead, I want to say, as a Board of Education, our first responsibility, our first duty is the health and safety of the children placed under our care, to our staff and to our community. Everyone in our Black Tiger family shares those concerns. The best way we can protect ourselves and our most vulnerable population is to get vaccinated. We need 80% of our community or higher to protect us against our common enemy, which is COVID and the Delta variant. Failing that, we need to protect each other by wearing masks. We know that mask mandates work. Before we implemented mask mandates, we had 74 cases with COVID-19 and 348 students quarantined. After the mask mandates were instituted, numbers fell to 33 cases of COVID and only 41 quarantines. Mask mandates have had similar results for other school districts. Our priority is to keep our students in school, which we know is the best thing for them and our community. Let me end with this plea. If we want to return to normalcy, please, please get vaccinated. Thank you.
Mr. Gomez.
Starting tomorrow, there's a new podcast called the 330 Podcast that is a product of our modern communication through media class. I believe I found out about it because I think it was you that wrote the article. Somebody at the Beacon Journal, I believe it was Mr. Karen here, wrote that article, so we're thankful for that. That's how I found out about it. But our students are going to do their own podcast. You can find it anywhere you use to find podcasts. I'm just really excited about that opportunity. The high school is going to be giving out a resource card that fits in a wallet. And it's really exciting. It has information about different crisis helplines, how to contact your school counselors, how to contact the social worker, just resource cards that all of our high school students are going to get. I'm really proud of our health and wellness team for coming up with that to make sure that whether or not a student ever needs those resources, they have access to it regardless. That's so important. I want to give a huge shout out to our food service team who are being so flexible with what's going on with shortages. They say sometimes, they order for 400 kids and enough shows up for 200 kids, and they find a way to make sure our kids are getting food each day, being adaptable about the menus. They're doing a phenomenal job, and I think they've been unsung heroes lately, so I want to give them recognition. I'm excited that we found out from Dr. Nichols that the Cuyahoga Falls Police Department reached out. They want to do SWAT training at Newberry before it's abated and demolished, and they're going to be able to do that there. So I'm thankful that our police are getting another opportunity to practice that. I'm grateful for Dr. Nichols for giving them that opportunity. And lastly, I want to thank the city for the use of the natatorium this evening. These are more comfy chairs than the chairs we sit in the high school, so everyone's happy about that. But actually, lastly, I want to say that regardless of all the people that spoke tonight, regardless of whether you agreed or disagreed with the decisions the board has made, and regardless of whether we agreed or disagreed with what you said tonight, I hope the community saw that all 5 of us sat here and thoughtfully considered everything you said, regardless of what you said, regardless of what you or we believed. We sat here and we listened, and that's so important, and we appreciate people taking the time to tell us what they think. So often before COVID, very few people would reach out to us, and because of COVID, we hear more from people, and that's helpful. It helps us make decisions. We want to hear from our community, and as you saw tonight, we will always listen to you if you take the time to reach out.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Dr. Hall.
The comments of my fellow board members were extremely comprehensive, so I would just like to say thank you to the members of the community that showed up for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. Dr. Nichols.
Thank you, President Schofield, and members of the Board of Education, and our citizens in the audience. First of all, I apologize. I got caught up in traffic at Columbus, and I want to thank the Board of Education for giving me the opportunity to attend the State Superintendent's Conference the last couple of days, and before that, attend an organization that I belong to, that's Mid-American Association of school superintendents. And I thank you for that. I mean, there's 100 superintendents from 8 different districts, 8 different states that really cause policy change in the United States of America. And I've been blessed to be a part of that organization for the last 13 years. And I thank our Board of Education so much for supporting me in that. I thank you for being here. You know what? Everybody has the right to their own opinion. Everybody does. The reality is, you know, Patty and Kathy were teachers when I was a superintendent, and Patty stole my thunder with all the statistics. But the reality is, the bottom line is we want to keep kids in class. We want to keep kids and teachers in class. And I hate masks. I hate them. I don't wear them anywhere that I don't have to wear them. But the reality is keeping kids and teachers in school. Because when we did remote last year, we were okay at it, but we were not good at it, right? Right? I mean, Phil, I'm glad that you're here tonight. Tim Belby, you are a rock star. You know, we have an issue coming up November 2nd, and you know, it's not about that. It's not about any of that. It's about helping our kids be rock stars every day. You, every day, be a rock star, right? That's what it's about. That's what it's about. And so I want to thank our Board of Education for supporting me in the leadership opportunities that I have, not only throughout Ohio, but also throughout the United States. And I want to thank all of you for your opinions. Everybody has the right to their own opinion. And I share some of yours that are anti this, right? But the reality is I need to keep her in class every day. And that's what it is.
Ready for a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Ms. Moffitt? Ms. Schofield?
Aye.
Good work.